Why, hello there. What's up, guys? This is the Dark and Rose here, and oh my god, the first thing you fucking hear in the background is some person working on their lawn. Nah, it's probably someone on their motorcycle driving by. Anyways, here we are with another narration today, and the reason why. What's up? Sorry, I can't do that. I just woke up like 10 minutes ago, dude. So the reason why I did not stream last week, well, also I'm going to explain another thing too that I happened to have stumbled across as soon as I realized my mistake. But to start, I didn't do a session last week because SGDQ 2018 was happening. If you don't know what that is, that's Summer Games Done Quick. And it's a speedrunning charity marathon that happens every year. They have one in the winter. They have one in the summer. They're going to do one for TwitchCon from what I hear, but I'm not going to watch that one, I think. But it's a week-long event, so I didn't really have time to sit down and do a narration. Plus, I really wanted to finish up some games with a friend of mine on my Twitch channel, and so I decided to postpone the narration for the next weekend. And so here we are. Perfect timing too, because no one's here. I'm the only one here, so I can be as loud as I want. I think the last narration, I was doing it at a bad time and people were trying to sleep already, so it was already really rough to do a narration. But this time around, we're all set to go. This is like the ideal. This is the ideal environment for me to do my narrations, straight up. Plus, I could keep my door open so the cold breeze from the outside world could come in here. Because when I stream, the room gets really hot, and it gets really rough in here. And so the other thing that I wanted to talk about was it's the straight up fact that I forgot to make the previous narration unlisted, so it ended up coming out a week later than the session was. So I felt really bad. At the same time, though, I'm a little glad that I did that, because then people would have had to deal with, two narrations in one weekend. And from what I know of some people that have, said in the comment section stuff about how they, listen to the narrations, I think it would have been a really bad idea to put them both out publicly. So I guess just keeping it unlisted on accident was a better idea. I think I might do that. So if I were to do two narrations this weekend, I might not actually, but let's just say I did. If I were to do if I did two narrations this weekend, I would decide to just put the first one out, and then I'll just keep the second one for the next week if I'm not able to narrate that week. If not, I'll put it out and I'll do another session, and then we will put that out the next week, so that we have this slow bundle of narrations, like a stockpile, just slowly growing, which will really help out, because then we can be consistent for once. Also, I forgot to turn that on. Hello, it's me. I took a shower too. What's up, Nick? By the way, I'm sorry to say this, Gridleg, but no, I'm sorry to say, I forgot to say hi to you, Gridleg. Though I fucking love how you came in with so that was really funny. Anyways, as always, the narration, the story's down in the description. So if you want to really quickly pull that up, if you want to follow along, cool. If you're listening to it in your car, don't pull it up, because you probably might end up in a car accident. So, yeah. Anyways, here is chapter 10. Actually, let me go text someone first. Let me go text my brother to see what time he comes back, so I don't just it doesn't get all weird when he comes back home. And I turn around and I think there's someone breaking in. What? I can hardly hear from my headphones, that's why. What time are you coming back home? Okay. Sorry about that. Alright. Here we are. Let's start the narration. Oh, sorry, I look fucking weird. Okay. Chapter 10. Eyes Wide Open, Part 2. We all had a question. Doing a RWBY project near narrator for a short trailer. Would you be interested? Oh, shit. It's a little weird for me to take offers like that. I'm not saying that I won't, but, do you need to know now? Like, as in, like, I need to make my decision now about if I want to be in it or not? Because it does sound like it would be a really cool idea to go and do that for someone. Because I've never done it for someone before. But, I mean, how about this, Nick? Shit. Wait, I don't know if you have Discord or anything like that. If you follow me on Twitter, yeah, go ahead. Oh yeah, I do have my Twitter in the description, right? Oh yeah, it's right there. You can text me from anywhere. You can text me from whatever is in the description, or you could add me on Discord. I'm the Dark and Rose on Discord, so yeah. In case you need to know more verification about my profile, because I know that they do things a little weirdly. Let me turn off streamer mode. That's stupid. My ID number on Discord is 5883. Send you more info about it in a bit. I will check it out after the stream. But it does sound like something I would want to do. It just depends on if I'm going to end up doing something during the week, because I stream a lot on Twitch, and so I end up not giving myself time to do things, which is kind of why I'm always a little nerve-wracked when it comes to people asking if they want me to narrate their stuff. I'm usually the one that just goes and asks for permission, because then I have some I have like that sort of that reassurance gap. Like, okay, I'm the one that decided to do this. They gave me the go ahead. If someone came up to me and asked me to do it for them, that's when it gets a little more stressing, because then you're doing it for someone now. You have to make sure you do it. Anyways, let's go on with it. So yeah, send the info in. I will look at it and I will get back to you when I know that I'm not gonna be busy. I don't think I'm gonna be busy though, unless Max and I, or Shadow Nightblade and I, go on and do a Pokemon Nuzlocke during the week, because we've been thinking about doing that for a while. Oh yeah. Love that dude. Alright. Let's begin. Sorry. Especially for the people that are listening to this when it's in a recording form. When Weiss awoke again, it was mid-afternoon. Lying on her side, she found herself staring at a crackling fire just 10 feet away from her. Fish on sticks sizzling around it nicely. I'm already going to have to turn on my fan. Next to the fire and closer to Weiss, on what appeared to be a large leaf the size of her head, was an assortment of different colored berries and fruits, some of which Weiss had never seen before. Phoenix was nowhere to be seen. I will turn on my noise gate, though, just so that, the fan doesn't keep on blowing towards it. I will say, though, I did not change up my noise gate. I made a whole new scene for OBS straight up for just recording and narrations. So it's going to sound a little weird. Let me know if my noise gate sounds very weird. You will notice it if it does seem weird. All right. All right. Weiss started to rise with a nauseating sense of panic. Was all of that just a dream? Had she really been abandoned? Had she really been left out here to die? Or had something happened to Phoenix while she was asleep and... Hey, came a murmur from above. You're awake. Startled by a sudden voice, Weiss froze halfway up, her head whipping around towards the source of the voice. She quickly found herself face to face with Phoenix. How are you feeling? The rogue asked, giving her a tired, weary smile. Or rather, the blonde was looking down at her, Weiss looking up at the rogue from the woman's lap. Phoenix's lap was surprisingly comfy. You alright? At that question, Weiss bolted upwards, nearly clipping Phoenix in the chin with her forehead. With her cheeks burning and heart thundering in her chest, Weiss quickly put a respectable, but not too far, distance between them. Whoa! Phoenix exclaimed, flinching backwards at the sudden movement. Sorry, I didn't mean to scare you. Weiss inhaled shakily, running a trembling hand through her disheveled hair. She sat back on her heels in the grass, momentarily straightening out her rumpled dress. No, it wasn't your fault, Weiss said, her heart still thudding away in her chest. The rosiness in her cheeks had yet to fade. I just didn't see you there. The rogue smiled sheepishly at Weiss. Oh my god, I can't even say that. Scratching the back of her head. That was a nervous tick of Phoenix's that Weiss had come to notice. A shaky laugh. My bad, the blonde said. I just thought you'd rest better lying on something other than rocks and itchy grass. Weiss took one look at Phoenix's lap before turning her face away. The redness on her cheeks renewed. She coughed into her fist. Thanks, she murmured. Yeah, the rogue answered awkwardly. No problem. Silence enveloped the duo for a moment. Weiss played with the hem of her skirt restlessly. The once white and pristine material now fraying at the ends, the garment a lackluster dull gray color. Are you hungry? Phoenix asked, the rogue promptly crawling forward from her current spot towards the fire. The blonde turned the fish on sticks around the flames so they wouldn't burn. Famished, actually, Weiss replied rather quickly. The white-haired girl silently thanked her companion for the change in topic. It feels like I haven't eaten for days. As if to emphasize her point, Weiss's stomach growled noisily at that moment, making her blush. Phoenix chuckled softly, her tired expression lightening as she plucked one of the fish skewers from the campfire. The blonde handed it to Weiss. That's because the last time you ate was almost 5 days ago, the rogue commented. Weiss almost dropped her skewer. What? Phoenix flushed at that near shriek of exclamation, looking at Weiss nervously. For a moment, all Weiss could do was look at the rogue in confusion because of that reaction. Then the memory flashed through her mind, making Weiss visibly recoil. What? A large light blue dust cliff flickered a few times beneath the blonde's feet before it disappeared from the grassy ground. You know, that's okay. Honestly, this is one of the things that gives me a little bit of a gripe. I know this happens in like a whole bunch of stories and stuff, even in movies and games. So I can't really say anything about it that seems wrong, but it just seems a little strange just to like straight up just repeat a whole stanza. I know you have to do it, and I know you have to do it because this is worded form we're talking about. No one's speaking it out. Or no one's acting it out. So, that makes sense. I just find it a little weird. Alright. Blue eyes wide in horror as Weiss's gaze raked over the frigid form in front of her. Frozen mid-step, her hand outstretched towards Weiss. Terror etched on her face was Phoenix, the rogue trapped inside a jagged, upwards-reaching block of ice. What have I done? That wasn't just a dream. That had really happened. Oh, God. Breathing suddenly became harder for Weiss. Hey. Weiss flinched when a warm hand wrapped around her free one, holding her in place. She didn't even remember when she started to back away from the rogue, nor did she notice when the blonde had closed the distance between them to stop her. Her other hand trembled, Weiss's fierce fish skewer shaking along with it. Phoenix, don't. Fear-filled blue eyes met unwavering lavender ones. You won't hurt me, Weiss, Phoenix said. Blonde gave Weiss a soft, repentant smile. Sorry, I shouldn't have reacted that way. The rogue grinned sheepishly. I just don't like the cold so much, you know? Weiss inhaled shakily, the beginnings of tears in her eyes. But before was an accident, Phoenix finished for the former heiress. It happens the first few times until you get your aura under control. That's normal. Aura? Besides, Phoenix continued on, a smug smile stretching across her lips. Did you honestly think an aura baby like you could really top hot stuff like me? Had Weiss been her regular self, she would have groaned and rolled her eyes at that awful pun. But as it was right now, the white-haired girl was much too distracted with something else Phoenix had said to even notice it. Wait, Weiss stuttered. What are you talking about, Phoenix? I told you I don't. Weiss, Phoenix interrupted. The rogue looked off to the side for a moment, taking a deep breath. She turned back to her shaky companion, giving Weiss's shoulder a soft squeeze. What do you remember? Before waking up today, I mean. Weiss swallowed thickly. 5 days ago? Phoenix nodded. Weiss stared at the blonde for a moment before she turned to the fish on a stick in her hand, currently resting in her lap. Most of her memories of the past few days were still a jumbled mess, but for the sake of her friend and companion, Weiss tried her best to recall everything that she could. I remember waking up in the morning. Weiss began, her gaze distant. You had already caught breakfast and was in the middle of cleaning them. Weiss shivered, appreciated to Phoenix for rubbing her shoulder soothingly. After all this time, even after having seen it done more than a dozen times, Weiss still was a bit squeamish when it came to watching Phoenix disembowel their food. Okay, that was a lie. She was more than just a bit squeamish, but still. Something about the way the fish's innards just spilled out on top of their eyes, just bulging in their eye sockets. That was just... Weiss shuddered. You know, Phoenix said, a soft chuckle escaping her lips. There is one way I know of which I can help you get over your nervousness. Weiss looked up, thankful for the interruption in her vomit-inducing thoughts. Doing what she could to school her expression, the white-haired girl did her best to ignore the strong, fluttering feeling in her stomach. That was happening more frequently as of late, especially when in close proximity to a certain rogue. Weiss simply chalked it up to her ever-increasing reliance on the rogue. She never relied on someone this much after all. So who was it to say that this wasn't a normal reaction? Really? Weiss asked, her voice cracking slightly. Uh-huh, Phoenix said, slowly leaning closer towards Weiss. The rogue's thumb idly stroked the skin on the back of Weiss's wrist. Weiss's heart beat that much faster, a steady heat creeping up her neck and cheeks. I'll just let you... Phoenix said softly, her face just stopping inches away from Weiss's. You'll just let me... Weiss echoed in a whisper, the former princess swearing she was that close to fainting right now. Lavender-colored eyes blinked slowly. I fucking love this part. Blue eyes nearly mimicking them as Weiss found herself almost forgetting to breathe, the former heiress waiting for the rogue's next words with bated breath. The blonde began. Weiss found herself frozen, both from anticipation and nervousness. Just let you gut the fish next time, the Phoenix said cheerily, the rogue pulling away. Phoenix leaned back on her arms, smiling at Weiss. It took all of 5 seconds for Weiss's brain to process what Phoenix just said. When the rogue's words finally registered, blue eyes went wide, Weiss paling considerably. Then the smile on the blonde's face turned into a cheeky smirk, and Weiss almost growled. That's not funny, Weiss exclaimed, smacking Phoenix in the shoulder. She crossed her arms over her chest, turning her gaze away when the blonde burst out laughing. Weiss pounded. But, Phoenix choked on laughter. But I'm being serious, the rogue said, slapping her knee a few times as she hollered. The only way to get over that is to do it over and over again until it doesn't bother you anymore. Weiss harumphed, but still didn't look at the blonde. The rogue guffawed some more before leaning closer to Weiss. Oh, come on, Weissy, Phoenix crooned. It's not all that bad. I do it all the time. Weiss's head snapped back to the still snickering rogue. Her eyebrows bordering her hairline, she looked at the blonde in disbelief. What did you just call me? What? You mean Weissy? Phoenix said, at which Weiss scowled at her. I think it suits you. My name is Weiss, I'll have you know, the white-haired girl said, not the least bit impressed with the butchering of her name. You best remember that, brute. Rawr, Phoenix said in response, another infuriating, to Weiss, grin on her face. The ice princess has spunk. Phoenix! What? It's true. Weiss sighed heavily, dropping her head. Closing her eyes, she pinched the bridge of her nose with her thumb and index finger. Can we please get back to the matter at hand? Oh, but why? The rogue whined. Teasing you is so much more fun. Weiss glared at Phoenix. Hard. Fine. The blonde relented, raising her hands up in defeat. I won't make you gut the fish. Weiss blinked a few times before her glare softened into something less hostile. Thank you, the former princess murmured. While Weiss was a bit surprised that was all it took to get the rogue off her case, the white-haired girl was never one to look a gift horse in the mouth. Then again, given the person in question was Phoenix, that just seemed a bit too easy. I do like to eat, after all, the rogue said with a shrug of her shoulders. Blast it! Weiss knew there was more to it. Before the four sneers could retort, Phoenix plucked the cold fish on a stick from Weiss's hand and finished it with surprising gusto. 4 bites later, and the fish was gone. Being serious, though, the rogue said, chucking the empty skewer into the fire before reaching for another fish on the stick. If you were to gut the fish, I'd die of starvation. Hey! Weiss shouted, glowering at the blonde indignantly. That is not true. Really? The rogue questioned, giving the white-haired girl a look. Weiss's response to that was to snatch the fish skewer out of Phoenix's hands and take a mighty chomp out of it before the rogue could. Golden eyebrows went up before Phoenix laughed. As I said before, spunk. Lavender orbs were alight with mischief. Phoenix. I'm stopping. The blonde chortled, her grin widening even more. I mean it this time. She totally does mean it this time. Hold on. Weiss took another menacing bite out of her fish skewer, glaring daggers at the rogue. Just to show how much she believed her companion, Phoenix wasn't fazed in the least. So you were saying? The blonde said, a smile still on her face. Rather than reaching for the fish this time, Phoenix opted for the berries on the large leaf next to the fire. After breakfast, what happened? Weiss stared at the rogue for a few more seconds just to make sure. Once she was satisfied that the blog wouldn't tease her any further, at least for now, Weiss's gaze returned to her fish on a stick, the white-haired girl eating the rest of it at a slower, much more proper pace. We packed up after ourselves like we usually did, Weiss said, her eyes going distant again. And then we went on our way, trying to find a way out of this forest. Weiss nibbled on a chunk of fish but said nothing more. The taste of the fish of the fresh catch never ceased to amaze the former heiress, despite the lack of seasonings. It was always so full of flavor, and not bland and needed to be covered up by spices like much of the food prepared at the White Castle. And after that, Phoenix prodded, giving Weiss a casual glance. Tossing a red berry into the air, she tilted her head back just far enough for the fruit to fall into her open mouth. Weiss frowned as she stared at the now empty skewer in her hands, the white-haired girl fervently searching her memory. Blurred faces, the rumbling of earth, a flash of red. I don't know, Weiss finished quietly. The grip on her fish skewer tightened. Pain. So much pain. But relief, too. All I have are fragments. The frown on Weiss's brow deepened. A flash of color here, a whiff of something there. Bits and pieces that don't make any sense. It was quiet for a few seconds before Phoenix spoke up again. It's probably better you don't remember, the blonde said offhandedly, glancing everywhere and anywhere but at her white-haired companion. I beg your pardon? Weiss turned towards Phoenix in surprise, an eyebrow raised. And just what is that supposed to mean? Unlike before, there was no grin or smile present on Phoenix's face. There was no laughter or chuckles. There was no teasing smirk or mischief-filled eyes. Phoenix was pursing her lips together tightly right now, refusing to meet Weiss's gaze. As I said, the rogue commented, her tone less lively. I think it's better you don't remember what happened. Phoenix's left hand balled in a fist in her lap. The rogue's right hand, the one holding the small berries she was snacking on, trembled ever so noticeably, threatening to crush them if she wasn't careful. And still, Phoenix would not look at Weiss. A smaller hand covered the blonde's fist, lavender-colored eyes darting over to Weiss in surprise. Phoenix, Weiss said, giving the rogue's hand a soft squeeze. What is it? What aren't you telling me? Weiss could see the conflict in the blonde's eyes. She could see the fear. She could see the pain. She could see the hurt. Phoenix's fist shook in her grasp, the rogue no doubt battling inner demons only the blonde could vanquish. After a few seconds of tense silence, Phoenix looked away from Weiss. It was like you said, Phoenix began, her voice tight and breathless. We packed up after breakfast and headed off, just like any other day so far. Then, shuddering breath, then we came across others. Blue eyes were drawn to the clenching of the rogue's jaw. Knuckles of the blonde's already balled up fist going white. They attacked us? Weiss asked, her gaze once again running the length of Phoenix's battered body. If they had been attacked, that would explain quite a bit. Phoenix's less than stellar appearance, Weiss's new scar. Hunted, more like. Phoenix spat angrily, Weiss feeling the rogue's fist shake even more. A knot formed in the pit of Weiss's stomach. What do you mean, hunted? Or Eris asked, the tremble in her voice. Phoenix gritted her teeth. They seem to know far more than they should, Rogue replied gruffly. The blonde tried to meet Weiss's gaze. Finally. About you. A pause. And me. The knot in Weiss's stomach tightened. A swallow. Do you know who told them about us? Weiss was reeling, thinking back on the incident with the Atlas mercenaries. All this time she had thought that it was a fluke, simply a case of being at the wrong place at the wrong time. While the bounty on her head, put up by her father no less, had surprised her when she learned about it. It wasn't unusual for the members of the royal family to be targeted at times and held for ransom. That was just something which came as part of that life. But to hear now that she was, being hunted, that made Weiss very uncomfortable and very nervous. It meant that people knew she was here. And if other people knew she was out here, that meant her father knew she was here too. Had the king sent those people who attacked them earlier to come collect her? Did he know about Phoenix? Was he going to take Phoenix away from her? The shake of Phoenix's head drew Weiss out of her thoughts. Didn't really have the time to find out how they knew. Phoenix said, the blonde's face twisted in anger. Was too busy trying not to die, and her breath hitched in the rogue's throat. Phoenix immediately turning her head away from Weiss. The white-haired girl could have sworn she saw the glint of tears in the blonde's eyes, but she wasn't sure. The rogue had turned her face away too fast. Phoenix? Phoenix was silent, her face still looking in the opposite direction of Weiss. Phoenix, Weiss tried again, her voice softer this time. She didn't like the silence. Not one bit. Say something. Please. Still, Weiss received no answer, and now the rogue started to tremble, which concerned the white-haired girl greatly. With her anxiety steadily rising, Weiss leaned closer to the rogue to, Don't, came a raspy, cracked voice. Weiss stopped moving. Less than 3 inches separating Phoenix and her now. Phoenix, I'm so sorry, Weiss, the rogue said, turning back to face her. Weiss's eyes wanting to see tears streaming down the blonde's face. Phoenix, what? This was my fault. Weiss inhaled sharply as the blonde reached up and cuffed her left cheek. Her eyes closed as a calloused thumb ran the length of her scar. Weiss feeling the digit shake the entire time. You almost died, Phoenix choked out, her voice meek. Okay. The exclamation point threw me off. Her voice meek and so quiet. Because I got careless. Because I got cocky. You saved me. But almost died because of it. If I didn't free your aura then. Feeling the hand drop from her face, Weiss's eyes opened again, slowly, and unfocused at first. She exhaled noisily, a jumble of new emotions running through her system as she watched the rogue pull away from her. Phoenix hugged herself, her face turned away in shame. Momentarily pushing those confusing feelings aside, ones which had been steadily getting stronger as more time passed. Weiss quickly grabbed Phoenix's arm before the rogue got too far. Phoenix, Weiss said firmly. All this time, Phoenix had been strong for her. Weiss sighed. It was now time Weiss returned the favor. Up. The varsity interrupted, reading off the rogue's protest. I don't want to hear it. Phoenix looked at Weiss in shock and confusion. I'm going to turn this up. Oh, that actually was heard. You can actually see my fan. I didn't realize that. That's what I have to use to stay cool in this room. Oh my god, I'm starting to get really hungry. Phoenix looked at Weiss in shock and confusion. Weiss. You said I almost died, Weiss stated. But I'm still here. Am I not? But did you think I'd be angry with you? Because of this? Weiss pointed to her left eye. Oh man, this is actually starting to get hard for me to read because fuck, my hunger is actually getting to me. I didn't realize I was really hungry. It just kicked in real bad. Lavender colored eyes looked away, heavy with guilt. Weiss, was I forced? Huh? Weiss made sure to hold Phoenix's gaze when the rogue looked at her again. Was I forced to save your life? Did someone threaten me, making me save you? Or did you demand it of me to save you? Well, no, Phoenix replied timidly. Again, the rogue looked away, after speaking, unable to hold Weiss's gaze for more than a few seconds. It was driving Weiss crazy. This was not the Phoenix Weiss knew. She was going to fix that very soon. Dolt, Weiss chided, taking the blonde towards her, pulling the rogue forward by the arm. Caught off guard by that action, Phoenix couldn't stop herself from crashing into Weiss's smaller frame. Nor could the rogue stop the smaller set of arms from wrapping around her shoulders and neck, effectively trapping her against the white-haired girl. Phoenix was as stiff as a board in Weiss's grasp. Weiss? You saved my life, Phoenix, Weiss murmured softly, holding the rogue a bit closer to her. If the blonde had been paying attention, she would have felt just how fast Weiss's heart was beating right now. Weiss was not one for big acts of physical attention. She never had that growing up as a child. So as it was, something like this was foreign to the white-haired girl. But it didn't stop it from feeling right at this current moment. It wasn't ideal, Weiss continued. Things didn't go exactly how you planned. But I'm still here, because of you. How could I be angry at you about that? Ever so slowly, Phoenix relaxed. Soon, two strong, trembling, but strong arms wrapped around Weiss's back, holding onto her tightly. The rogue pressed her face into Weiss's shoulder, Phoenix shaking. I know I never said this before, Weiss said, a soft smile on her face. I keep fucking that up. Pale fingers ran through long locks of golden hair. But thank you, Phoenix, for saving my life so many times now. A shuddering breath escaped the quivering rogue, her hold on Weiss going tighter. And, Weiss said, her voice waving for a moment, for not abandoning me, even when I told you to. Weiss, came a sob. You saved my life, Phoenix. Weiss closed her eyes and smiled. Thank you. Muffled sobs reached Weiss's ears as Phoenix clutched at the back of her coat tighter. Leaning her head against the rogue's, Weiss rubbed a hand up and down the woman's back, the blonde shaking even more now. It seems our roles from earlier have reversed, haven't they? Weiss said sadly. Weiss's reply for the next little while would only be more sobs. Man, holy shit. I think that's the I think that's the chapter. I think I said it earlier. I think I said it once in a narration session for this story that this chapter was the one that made me love it. No, I actually changed my mind. That's the chapter that made me love this story heavily. It was, that moment was so well written. It was so emotional too. Man, my lips are fucking chapped. Yeah, no, I mean, I couldn't help but like kind of tear up a bit when I first read this story. I think this was when I was like fucking 14 when I read this. Holy shit. Now that I look back on it, it's been 4 years. And now I'm an adult. You know, adult, Graduate from high school. I mean, take care of responsibilities and shit. That is, it's really, crazy to think about that. Also, I kind of apologize for flubbing up a bit. Okay, let's see here. Let's get to the next chapter, shall we? Oh, man, shit. I don't know if I should, like, go and make me something to eat, if I should go order some food really fast, because I swear to God, you guys, I actually felt really, felt really fucked up in that moment that I said that I started feeling really hungry. Like, I literally had to stop, like, speaking for a moment, because, like, it actually, like, rose up, and I was like, oh, hell no, that fucking feels terrible. But anyways, let's I guess we'll just continue on. I'll read these chapters, and that might make me something to eat later. I'm not gonna make tacos though. I was thinking about doing that today. I'm like, no. I think I might just go order something, honestly. All right. Chapter 11, Intertwined. Let me just take a huge swig of water right now. Just take a large swig. Take it from the top. Chapter 11, Intertwined. Yang was alive. Phoenix, for the first time in years, Yang felt truly alive. Huh? Yang hummed, turning to look at Weiss. What's up? Yang couldn't remember the last time she felt this way. What the fuck? That she was actually living in the world and not just surviving it. Had she ever achieved this sense of peace before? She couldn't remember. For so long, it had just been her, alone, with all the mistakes she had ever made since, well, then. Weiss opened her mouth to speak, but looked away at the last minute, as if suddenly losing her nerve. But Yang wasn't alone anymore, was she? There was someone else here now, too. Someone who was undoubtedly and directly responsible for this new view on life. Weiss? Yang queried after a few seconds. Weiss uneasily silent. What is it? Weiss pursed her lips tightly, taking a deep breath before her head turned back in Yang's direction. I'm sorry, Phoenix, Weiss said, her gaze directed at her feet. The ex-princess fidgeted with the hem of her jacket's sleeves, the white-haired girl dragging her feet next to Yang. Yang stopped walking. Huh, she said, golden eyebrow raised in confusion. What are you talking about? Weiss stopped 3 steps past Yang but didn't look at her. The former heiress swallowed, her left hand clutching at the right sleeve of Weiss's jacket above the wrist. For a shaky breath. For everything that has happened, Weiss said. Weiss reluctantly glanced in Yang's direction. Yang frowned when she took in Weiss's smaller stature. It was so much smaller than her usual stance. The former princess seemingly shrinking in on herself due to her nervousness. Weiss's form trembled, as if expecting Yang to physically lash out at her because she had said something she wasn't supposed to. It felt so wrong. Yet, for the life of her, Yang didn't know what she had done to make Weiss behave this way. I'm sorry, Weiss repeated, making Yang frown even more. I'm sorry that had to happen to you, the Shnee explained, Weiss giving Yang's battered body a once-over before looking away again. Ah, so that's what this was all about. Weiss, Yang began, looking at her companion sympathetically. Look, A new day was upon them, exhausted both mentally and physically from previous days' events. Well, from the previous days' events, I mean. Weiss and Yang agreed to take a small break from traveling, staying put to recover for the rest of the day. While there was still so much to be said from the both of them to each other, They were content in letting things happen as they should, though as they would. Most of the big things between them had been worked out yesterday as far as Yang was concerned, so why force the rest out and cause unnecessary stress? This is all my fault, Weiss said, gripping at her arm harder. The knuckles on her hand going white. Weiss, it seemed, didn't think the same way that Yang did, and had something she needed to get off of her chest. All this wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for me. Yang's jaw clenched at the sight of tears in Weiss's eyes. Despite knowing the white-haired girl for only a few weeks, Yang hated seeing Weiss so upset, especially over something that the other girl had no control over. It wasn't as if Weiss had been the one to send those bounty hunters after him. It wasn't as if Weiss had been the one to physically give Yang these bruises and welts. Though, thinking about it from the ex-princess's point of view, Yang probably would have felt the same way, if not worse than Weiss was right now. Truth be told, it had been a long while since Yang had taken a beating like that. Weiss, Yang started, hoping to ease Weiss's burden of guilt. Weiss wouldn't let her finish, however, continuing on as if Yang had said anything in the first place. I promise you, Phoenix, Weiss said, her voice shaking. She still refused to look at Yang, Weiss biting her bottom lip. When we finally make it out of here. Yang was stubborn, though, and tried to interject again. Weiss, really? You don't have to. I'll find you the best sorcerer around and have them turn you back into a man. Weiss. Yang's thoughts and tongue screeched to a halt. Wait. What? It's my fault this happened to you. Oh my god, I can't even take this seriously. Weiss carried on, oblivious to Yang's bafflement. Weiss gritted her teeth, tears slowly rolling down her cheeks. I can't. A sob escaped the former heiress's throat, one which quickly snapped Yang out of her shock. I can't even imagine what you're going through right now. Whoa now, Yang exclaimed, grabbing her companion by the shoulders. The action had Weiss finally looking up to meet her gaze. Slow down there, girlie, Yang said, clearly confounded and well confused. What's this about me being stuck as a woman? Blue eyes looked at Yang, filled with shame. It was because of me that this happened to you. If I had known. Weiss, Yang said, giving the smaller girl a bit of a shake. It's okay, really. But, Weiss, you've got it all wrong. Yang didn't know she wanted to laugh, cry, or facepalm. Maybe all three at the same time if she could manage it. I wish I had a third arm to do that. Oh wait, you don't need arms to do the other two. What the fuck am I going on about? Of all the things that could have been bothering the former heiress, never once did Yang think it would be this. Yeah, no, me neither. When I first read this, that was a real big slap in the face, and it was hilarious when I first read that. It's still funny though. God damn it. Yang gave Weiss a soft smile, hoping it would be enough to soothe her silly companion. Nothing is wrong with me, Weiss, Yang said, her tone warm and comforting. She smiled. I've always been a woman, from the very day I was born. Not me, guys. Don't take that out of context. I'm a man. I like to think I'm a man. I'm not making it better on myself by doing this. I make my voice raspy too much. But that's not my fault, is it? Oh my god. Oh my god, oh, give me a moment. Holy shit, that made my eyes water. Okay. But Weiss shook her head, distraught. That's not possible, she said, covering her face with her hands. Why not? Yang asked, really curious about what was going through the white-haired girl's mind. Weiss raised her head, her hands pulling back from her face just enough for Yang to see her eyes. Your voice, Weiss started, her voice sounding extremely frail. A shadow cat potion, Yang calmly explained. It lowered my voice to sound like a man's. Blue eyes widened slightly. But your chest. The clothes binding it the clothes binding it ripped in the fight with a bounty hunt. Oh my god. The clothes binding ripped in the fight with the bounty hunters. Oh, I can't. People are gonna fucking. Oh my god! I activated my switch on accident. By the way, the switch dock is so fucking flimsy. Who came up with the idea of the dock but didn't make it so that the fucking switch would be secured on it? I could actually move it around still. See here? Look. Here. Look. I'm gonna hold it down and place the dock. Hear that? Don't think that I'm jerking off or something, but no, it's the switch. What the fuck is up with my hair today? It's like it's uncontrollable. Weiss's gaze darted down the Yang's chest for a moment before zipping up again to her face. And you're my? Yang looked at Weiss expectingly. Weiss pursed her lips and sniffled. Never mind, she said, wiping away her tears with her sleeve. Yang rubbed Weiss's shoulders, her smile widening as Weiss gradually loosened up. Taking a moment to compose herself, Weiss sniffled one last time before she ran a hand through her disheveled hair. Locking gazes with Yang again, Weiss's shoulders went erect. The former heiress regaining the pose and demeanor she usually carried. So you're telling me, Weiss began, the former royalty quick to clear her throat before crossing her arms over her chest, that all this time you're really a woman who has been posing as a man? Ying's smile was brilliant. Bingo, she piped, happy that Weiss and her had finally come to an understanding. Oh. Weiss stared. Silence. Ying's head whipped to the left. A hand-sized red mark quickly blossoming across her right cheek. Out of sight, Weiss hissed in pain, but that was nothing. Actually, I would fucking hiss in pain at this. I fucking hurt my hand there. Oh, fuck. Weiss hissed in pain, but that was nothing compared to how the rogue's cheek felt right now. What? Wide lavender eyes turned back to Weiss in shock. What the hell was that for? Yang roared. Yang now clutching her stinking cheek. That was for deceiving me all this time, you conifer! Weiss exclaimed, her lips pursed together tightly. Oh my god. She cradled her reddening palm in her other hand. And because of that, you're allowed to hit me? Yang shot back, still disbelieving what had just happened. Weiss rounded on Yang with a snarl. Do you know how foolish I felt thinking you've been turned into a woman all this time? What? My hair snapped. Do you know how scary that idea was? That there was people out there who had that kind of ability? And how was that my fault? Ying exclaimed with just as much volume to her voice. You were the one who came up with that crazy idea in the first place, not me! How could I not? Weiss argued. All this time I've known you as a man! And then after a life and death battle with some bounty hunters, you're suddenly a woman? What am I supposed to think? I don't, Ying said flatly. That maybe it was all an act? The urge to roll her eyes was strong. But Yang didn't. Weiss glared at her. Yang glared back. When you started apologizing, I thought you were feeling guilty about me getting all beaten up. Weiss opened her mouth to retort, only to frown and look away. There is that, she said in a heavy tone, guilt laced into her reluctant words. Yang immediately felt bad for pointing that out. Before she could apologize, however, Weiss was yelling at her again. But an act? Seriously? Weiss's gaze whipped back to meet Yang's own. How was I to fathom this was all an act? How do I know you're not really a woman who loves pretending to be a man? Because that is not true! Yang shouted. Yang taking one angry step closer to her opponent. Yang wasn't sure, but her aura may have been acting up too in response to her current emotions. You may not realize this, princess, but I have a very good reason for hiding all of this, Yang sneered, waving her hand up and down to the front of her body. In front of her body. Oh yeah? Weiss mocked. The white-haired girl crossed her arms over her chest again and leaned forward towards Yang. narrowing the space between them. Why is that? Because of these, Yang exclaimed. Without thinking, Yang cupped the underside of her breast and pulled them up an inch. A second later, she released them, causing them to jiggle. Oh my fucking Christ. Weiss immediately went red from the neck up. Do you know how hard it is to be taken seriously with these? Oh my god, I was actually about to start cupping my own fucking nips. Yang growled. She looked to the side, scowling. Yang remembering all of the incidents before she chose to hide her true gender. It's a little hard to do much of anything when most people only stare at my boobs. I don't have boobs, by the way. Don't take that out of context. Of course, people are going to stare at you. You're gorgeous, Weiss screeched. And for the second time of the day, Yang found her thoughts stopping dead. Weiss's eyes opened wide like saucers when she realized what she said. What I meant to say was... Yang gawked at Weiss, her mouth opening and closing a few times. No sound coming out. It would take all of 5 seconds for Yang to find a voice. Yet even then, she wasn't sure if she was making any sense or talking gibberish. Did you? I'll swallow. Did you just call me gorgeous? Weiss, I'm not gorgeous, by the way. Don't take that out of context. Weiss quickly turned her back on Yang, hugging herself. You're mistaken, oaf, white-haired girl said, though there was no anger or snap to her voice like normal. What I said was nothing. Nothing at all. Yang continued to stare at Weiss's back, at the giant snowflake stitched into the girl's jacket, her mind a flurry of thoughts. This was not the first time someone complimented Yang's looks. Pretty. Beautiful. Gorgeous. She had heard them all before, most from lecherous men of various ages, all of whom tried to bed Yang at some point or another. Oh, I forgot. This was the era where a lot of people pretty much thought that Yang was a sort of like playboy, not playboy. Was sort of like man-eater or something. Does that work? Does the word man-eater work in this context? Maybe I'm actually misconstruing what the definition of man-eater is. Hold on, we are going on a bit of a fucking journey here. Man-eater definition. A dominant woman who has many sexual partners. Well, you heard it here, folks. That's the definition of man-eater. Oh, here she comes. Watch out for she'll chew you up. I love that song, though. Okay. That's why she finally disguised herself as a man. The others before only looked at Yang like a piece of meat to be consumed. Okay, really? Like a piece of meat to be consumed, or like a prize to be acquired and flaunted. She was not a person to him, far less herself. She was just a trophy, a thing, and it disgusted her. But not this time. Again, Yang's mouth opened and closed, the rogue having much difficulty forming words. This time was different. Was it because Weiss was a woman? I mean, I don't know about that. Was it because Yang could tell Weiss's words were genuine? Or was it because Yang knew Weiss didn't look at her like the others did? Weiss looked at Yang for Yang and another conquest in bed. Whatever it was, Yang found herself stuttering and blushing like the farmer's girl asked on a date by a prince. Get a hold of yourself, Yang, she silently chided herself. It's nothing you haven't heard before. And lavender-colored eyes drifted upwards to Weiss's face, only to spy pearl-white hair. The former heiress's back still facing her. The soft morning light glinted off the small silver tiara sitting at the base of Weiss's off-center messy ponytail, drawing Yang's eyes to it momentarily. But unlike previous times, the compliment giver this time was none other than Princess Weiss Shini. Well, oh my god, sorry. Well, the former princess, that is. Of course people are going to stare. You're gorgeous. Yang was so screwed. What? No smarky remark? No awful pun? Yang's gaze immediately shifted from her companion's accessory to me, an icy blue gaze. While she hadn't turned around, not yet at least, Weiss was now looking over her shoulder at Yang, albeit very shyly. It was very cute, if Yang could say so herself. The blush on Weiss's cheeks was just as adorable. Yang struggled for words when she realized Weiss was still waiting for a response. Well, Weiss turned around to face Yang fully, a frown marring her brow. She put a hand on her hip. Does it really bother you that much? I know you're a woman and not a man? Yang quickly opened her mouth to disagree, only to falter at the last moment. She looked away from Weiss, pursing her lips tightly. Yang wasn't going to lie. That had been one of the many questions on her mind since her true identity came to light yesterday. Yang had thought Weiss's original lack of reaction before was due to the discovery of Weiss's aura and the near fatal incident which followed shortly after it. But now that was over and things had time to settle, Yang couldn't but feel vulnerable and uncertain when he came to her white-haired companion. Gods, why was her throat so dry? And much I take a drink of water. It doesn't bother you? What? Yang swallowed thickly before trying her words again. It doesn't bother you that I'm a woman? Yang asked quietly, almost pitifully so. Almost pitifully so. Weiss's gaze was unrelenting. Fists ball at her sides, Yang shook slightly under the scrutiny. She didn't know why, or for some reason, Weiss's answer meant a great deal to her. Seconds passed, silence enveloping the pair completely. Doing her damnedest not to fidget under Weiss's piercing look, Yang tried focusing on something else aside from the icy blues boring into her soul. Like Weiss's porcelain skin, like the smell of grass with a hint of clover, like the frantic beating of her heart, the organ feeling as if it had jumped up into her throat and had gotten stuck there. Just when the silence became too much, Weiss snorted very unladylike, making Yang blink rapidly in surprise. Should it? The ex-heiress questioned. Yang was speechless. Seriously? The Grim freaks her out, but not me being a woman? Oh my god, this chapter was one of those days. If Weiss had suddenly admitted that she was a man all this time, Yang was almost certain she'd have a more reactionary response than this. Well, no, Yang mumbled, fumbling for words. Fist clenched and then unclenched, only to clench at her sides again. Yang not quite sure what to do in a situation like this. I mean, I hope it doesn't, but... Weiss crossed her arms over her chest, a surprisingly intimidating gesture, Yang thought, despite Weiss being the smaller one between them. Yang swallowed nervously. Are you saying that you pretending to be a man makes you a completely different person than when you're actually a woman? Weiss questioned. Yes! Was Yang's immediate reaction. Weiss raised an eyebrow. I'm just gonna do it myself. I can't really do it. But I mean, no! Yang quickly amended. Weiss's other eyebrow went up. What I mean to say is... The white-haired girl blinked once. Yang sighed, her shoulders slumping forward as she rubbed her face. I don't know, she said. I don't think so. I mean, I'm the same person I was from the start. Yang raised an open palm up to her face and glazed at it. At least, I think I am. At the edge of Yang's vision, Weiss shifted a step closer to her. So, what is the problem then? Weiss asked. Yang blinked at Weiss a couple of times before she redirected her gaze back to her hand. A small smile stretched across her lips as she did so, her shoulders straightening a bit. I guess, Yang began, there isn't one. Good, Weiss said, a smile on her lips. Let's say small on her lips. I almost stumbled over that. Relief. That's what Yang felt right now. Never before had she felt so relieved. This feels like the coming out of a closet moment for Yang. Like, yeah, I'm a woman. Doesn't that make it seem like a huge problem? No? Really? It's not a problem? Okay, man, I guess. Never before has she felt so relieved. It was like the heavy weight that had been pressing down on her shoulders since forever had finally lifted, leaving Yang to float and flutter. It was amazing. Reaching towards Yang, Weiss intertwined her fingers with the fingers of Yang's raised hand, a faint pink tinting her cheeks. Now that that's settled, Weiss said, a slight stutter in her voice, I do believe we have a haunted forest to escape from. Yang watched awestruck as their connected hands slowly lowered to their sides. Before Weiss could even take a step forward, Yang gently tugged backwards on their jointed limbs, making the former heiress freeze next to her. Weiss's gaze darted back and forth between their held hands and Yang's face. Yang could almost hear her companion's thoughts as the seconds ticked on. Standing next to her, her hand trembling in Yang's own, Weiss was wondering if she had somehow overstepped the fragile boundary between them and ruined their whatever it was that they had together. That was absolutely ludicrous, of course. Yang soon lifting her head to meet Weiss's unwavering gaze with a half smirk, half smile, splitting the bottom part of her face. What? Weiss asked. What? Weiss asked stiffly. The new aura user, swallowing anxiously. Weiss may have been nervous about it all, but Yang was not. With a glint of mischief in her eyes, Yang's grin widened substantially. Looks like the phoenix has melted the ice princess, she said. This was right. This felt right. Yang watched with great amusement as Weiss's nervous expression quickly morphed into one of confusion, then to one of horror, and finally to one of defeated acceptance. Did I get a text message from my brother? I think he's working today, so he might not be back for a while. Oh my god. Then. Oh my god. Wait, what? Okay, we'll just repeat that. Yang watched with great amusement and Weiss's nervous expression quickly morphed into one of confusion, then to one of horror, and finally to one of defeated acceptance. Yang guffawed as Weiss hung her head, groaning. I probably might have fucked that up. Someone's gonna probably tell me what it actually is supposed to be pronounced. Yang completely beside herself with glee for squeezing that pun in. Really, Yaya? Really? Weiss sighed in exasperation, face palming with her free hand. Can you not go one day without? Delight and amusement vanished instantly, leaving only despair. All because of a word. All because of a name. Without warning, Yang yanked her hand out of Weiss's grip, Yang quickly spinning the white-haired girl around by the shoulders. Weiss squeaked in surprise at that action. Only Yang's near iron grip on her shoulders saving her from tumbling to the ground on her behind. Clearly startled by this sudden turn, literally, Weiss opened her mouth to say something, only to go as still as a statue when white blues met scared violets. Weiss, Yang nearly whimpered, her voice shaking. Yang's hand shook as he gripped at Weiss's shoulders. Where did you hear that name from? The name? Weiss echoed, flustered and confused. Yeah. Yang swallowed dryly, her throat constricting painfully. Yeah, she groped, her fingers unconsciously digging firmer into Weiss's shoulders. Weiss flinched. Where did you hear that name? Weiss's jaw clenched, her body trembling as a cool mist started to leak off of her form. The white fog went unnoticed by both women. The name! Yang screamed again, her chest tight, Yang barely able to breathe. I heard it in my dreams! Weiss shouted back. The forest floor beneath their feet within a 10-foot radius iced over in a second. Weiss panted heavily, shivering. What? Yang stared at Weiss in shock, her hand slipping away from the white-haired girl's shoulders. She stumbled backwards a few steps, dazed, almost slipping on the newly formed ice under their feet. Yang somehow managed to make her way over to a nearby tree, turning her back on Weiss. Before I woke up here, Weiss said, hugging herself as she turned her gaze away from Yang, I was dreaming I was somewhere else, but a breath. But somehow I knew it wasn't a dream. It was almost like it was a memory, but it wasn't mine. Breathing heavily, Yang clung to the tree next to her as if her very life depended on it. What? Yang shuddered. What happened in your dream? She asked in a breathless whisper. There was some shuffling behind Yang before Weiss replied. It was nighttime, the white-haired girl said. I woke to someone calling my name. Yang closed her eyes, her jaw clenching, her forehead pressed against the rough tree bark. RWBY was standing next to my bed. She had had a bad dream, Weiss continued, her voice shaking but the stutters gone. I let her sleep next to me after that. Yang's eyes burned, the rogue barely registering the sound of scratching as her nails left vertical lines of the tree she held onto. But it... Weiss paused a moment. It wasn't I who RWBY woke up. That person was you, wasn't it? A shuddering breath escaped Yang's throat, Yang biting her lip to stifle another one from coming out right after it. Your name is not really Phoenix, is it? The forest grew silent around the pair, the only things heard being Weiss's restless shifting and Yang's near-choking breaths. It was as if nature itself was holding its breath, also waiting on Yang's answer. Silent seconds turned into a minute, then another, and another. Just when it seemed Weiss would call her on her muteness, Yang spoke up. No, came the white-haired girl's answer. My name is not Phoenix. Standing up straighter for the first time since this topic came up, Yang released her support tree, balling her fist at her side, turning her head slightly to the left, but not enough for Weiss to see her face. Yang's jaw clenched as she blinked back the tears which threatened to fall. My true name is Yang Xiaolong, Yang said, her voice devoid yet sounding strangled from pain. And that little girl you saw in your dream, RWBY, a smothered, shaking breath. RWBY, Yang amended, was my sister. So, I mean, I believe that people kind of saw that coming. I will be honest, but at the same time, holy shit, that got me real bad. Because that was still the time I was like trying to like write good, or at least like get my grammatical like, at least get my grammar and like story writing like better. Because I used to write like shit. If anyone has ever read my first fanfic, Red Like Roses, you will know that. I used to write like shit, and I probably might still, maybe? I don't know. Holy shit. It's one hell of a chapter, am I right? Anyways, this next chapter, oof. We're at the, we're pretty much at the, what kind of arc can I call it? I'm thinking about it. Because there's a good way of calling this point in the story. Yeah, there's a really good sort of like title that you can call this arc. Not the RWBY arc. More like the I can't even come up. I can't even find it. Not find it, but I can't even like think it up at the top of my head. Holy shit! I haven't said that in a while. Whatever it was. Holy shit! And also, this hunger is actually starting to get to me real badly. I'm actually starting to like think more about food than fucking the story. Holy shit, this is actually becoming a game of endurance for me. How long can I last until the hunger gets to me and I have to go order Pizza Hut on stream? Unless I tell my brother to bring back home some Chipotle. He works at Chipotle. I like Chipotle. Well, it's not crazy good, but it's, I mean, I like it. Chipotle's good. I'm making myself feel even worse by saying that. You son of a bitch. Okay. Chapter 12. The memory that was not hers. She felt it in her stomach. Fear, panic, terror. The smoke surrounding them was choking. The air filled with ash and the fiery remains of leaves and bark. It was as if all oxygen had been replaced by a powdery, burnt sludge, one which raised her throat instead of refreshing it. Okay. Leaving it drier than the sands of Haven's desert. She was suffocating, slowly from the smoke. Of course, it didn't help that her scorched throat was still healing from her run-in before. The flesh of her neck still was a raw red color in the shape of a hand. A cough. But that was nothing compared to the drowning torment she felt every time she turned her head to look left. Just a little, a wheeze. A little bit further, Yang, Weiss grunted, struggling to keep them both upright. Just a little bit further. Huffing. And we'll be out of this place. Weiss coughed again, the white-haired girl sputtering for air when she accidentally inhaled a bit of ash. They had made good progress escaping the escalating inferno just behind them. But while they evaded the scorching flames and the heat which came with it, the wind carried the smoke and ash farther and faster than Weiss could have ever thought possible in such a short period of time. Pushing those worrying thoughts aside, Weiss tried her damnedest to focus on something, anything, except for the belonging hanging off of her shoulder, almost completely limp. It was a little hard to do, however, especially as Yang stumbled over an above-ground root, nearly sending the two of them sprawling to the ground face first. Weiss somehow managed to keep them on their feet, though, a grunt escaping her lips as she did so. Tightening the grip on the arm around her shoulders, her hold on Yang's waist also going tighter. Weiss trudging ahead with all of her strength, half dragging, half yanking her companion with her. Weiss, Yang slurred. Weiss bit her lip, nearly drawing blood. Let's... a pained warble. Let me go. No! Weiss rasped, tearful blues glaring at the blonde. For the last time already, I'm not going anywhere without you! Already glazed lavender struggled to remain open, a tired smile twitching on Yang's lips. Weiss gazed ahead again. Don't, she said, her voice cracking. I know what you're going to say, and you're not. A heavy breath. You're not a burden. Beads of oh my god. Beads of sweat rolled down the sides of Weiss's face. One's pale cheeks now flushed from exertion and blackened with soot. Weiss! No! The exorcist exclaimed, coughing a bit. With her chest heaving, Weiss struggled to hold back the tears of frustration pooling in the corner of her eyes. I said I'm getting you out of here. And that's what I'm doing. Ignoring the thickening smoke blowing across their backs, Weiss trembled as she forced another foot forward. Wavering constantly under Yang's extra weight, Weiss did what she could to ignore her own growing weakness, drawing upon what little reserves of strength she had left. The rogue remained quiet all the while, drawing Weiss's concerned glance after a few more silent steps. Yang was fading far more quickly than Weiss could have ever imagined. Weiss supposed part of the reason was the stream of crimson running down the length of Yang's limp arm, her left one, a trail of red left behind them in the grass and dirt. Even when Weiss's tattered jacket wrapped tightly around the shoulder room in a feeble attempt to staunch the blood, liquid crimson continued to flow unending. And the other part? Well, just thinking about the other part made Weiss want to scream. So she did. But less because of her mounting frustration and helplessness, and more so because of the fist-sized rock in their patch she failed to notice. The moment her boot foot connected with it, she tumbled forward, collapsing to her hands and knees. Yang going down with her. Damn it! Weiss cursed. Nyxeris' body shaking. Tears rolled down her black smudged cheeks, a sob threatening to spill forth. How did things go so wrong? And so we go back. Emerald Forest, 1 hour ago. My true name is Yang Xiaolong. Phoenix said. And that little girl you saw, Ruru. A drawn-out breath. Ruby, the rogue amended, was my sister. Weiss slowly dropped to her knees. The strength in her legs suddenly non-existent. Was? Weiss sucked in a hollow breath, her voice constricting almost painfully for some reason. A hand clenched at the fabric of her shirt, covering her stomach. The same organ feeling as if it was doing somersaults. Awful ones, at that. Turning to look forward again, Weiss's gaze fell on Phoenix. Or rather, she stared at Yang. The blonde wistfully looking at the forest before them as she spoke up again. I was just a few days shy of my 7th birthday when it happened. She awoke to the sound of shouts and screams. Jolting upright in fear, limbs flailing uncoordinated, the back of her hand met something soft and warm, an audible smack echoing throughout the otherwise silent room. Wide eyes were locked on onto the closed curtains covering her partially ajar window. Weiss blinked rapidly as a fragment of memory emerged from the depths of her mind. Owie! 4-year-old Ruby exclaimed next to her, momentarily thrashing. Quickly gathering her bearings about her, Ruby sat up and held her reddening cheek. What was that for, Yaya? The younger girl pouted, getting no reply after a few seconds. Ruby tugged on her sleeve trying to get her attention. Yaya? Like before, this memory wasn't hers. While knowing this relieved Weiss to no end, thank the gods she wasn't going crazy. That did nothing to stop the pure, unfiltered terror running through her system as Yang recounted her past, oblivious to Weiss's plight. Bandits attacked our village in the dead of night, Yang said, the fist at her side shaking noticeably. They thought it would be easy pickings, catching us off guard so late. The door to her bedroom swung open, clacking noisily when it hit the adjacent wall. Ruby jumped to the sound as did she, her little sister immediately clinging to her arm, shaking. Mama! She exclaimed, her voice trembling. What's happening? But we fought back, and things got ugly. Yang, honey? A terrified shriek ripped through the air, making them all flinch. It was quickly followed by a loud bang from outside, one which shook the foundations of their wooden house. Only when the noise died down did she hear the screams and shouts again, in full force. Those wails, unlike anything she had ever heard before. Her skin crawled. Ruby clutched her arm, whimpering, cutting off circulation to her captured limb. Yang, take your sister to the cellar and stay there until we come get you. But Mama! Yang, please! The mother shouted, desperation in her voice and eyes, realizing what she had done. The mother's voice softened. Please, Yang, the other woman repeated, her hand shaking as she cupped her cheek and patted Ruby's hair. Be a good girl and do it for Mama. Weiss's jaw clenched, her nails digging into the fabric of her jacket arms as she hugged herself. It was terrifying just how in sync Yang's recollection was with the memory currently invading her sight and hearing. Was this punishment for something she had done? If not, was this just a cruel joke the gods were playing on her? Weiss shook her head. No, this was neither of those things. It was something much worse. This was something that had happened to Yang a long time ago. Something which Weiss had been completely oblivious to. Up until now. Weiss felt sick. How naive she had been this entire time. There was a small cellar our family had, Yang said, the words drawing Weiss momentarily out of her thoughts. The memory continued on, still in perfect sync with her companion's words, despite Weiss's efforts to squash it down and forget it. Yeah, I'm scared, Ruby whimpered beside her. It was not attached to the house like everyone else's, but closer to the forest at the back of our land. It's where we kept dried meat and other things for storage. If a wild animal came wandering by, it would go after the food and leave us alone. She wrapped an arm around Ruby's shoulders, pulling her in for a tight, shaking hug. Me too, Ruru. Me too. The clumps of dull, white jacket and Weiss's grass rustled. on the verge of being torn into two as the ex-heiress clutched at herself tighter. She paid that muffled sound little heed, however. Weiss's mind assaulted by much more agonizing things at the moment. It took everything she had to ignore the freakish screams seeping through the crack between the cellar's double doors. She wanted this to stop. The sights, the sound, even the smells. But it wouldn't. It wouldn't until it was over. That's what terrified Weiss the most. The ending of this real-life nightmare. Our parents were supposed to be right behind us. They were supposed to be. Breath hitched in the rogue's throat, Weiss suddenly finding it hard to breathe. The next few words spoken by the blonde were forced out through clenched teeth, partially muffling them in that action, but they were clear enough to be understood. Instead, she couldn't breathe. Mama! She couldn't think. Papa! She couldn't believe. Wake up! After spending who knows how long in that dark, cold cellar, she went against her mother's instructions and left. Despite knowing she would be punished severely for disobeying, she took RWBY and ventured back outside. She had to know. She had to know what had happened. She had to know why things were suddenly quiet now when before then there was nothing but screaming and sobbing and terror. Mama! RWBY wailed again, her small hands shaking the stiff, still body underneath them. Wake ye up! They should have never left the cellar. We were the only ones left, Ying said, her voice cracking. Palms covered Weiss's eyes, tears streaming down her cheeks. Unable to sit still any longer, useless, she forced herself to stand on wobbling legs, Weiss's chest heaving with suppressed sobs as she stumbled towards her companion. Everything was either on fire or was burned to the ground already, Ying said, the blonde not flinching in the least when Weiss wrapped her arms around the rogue's waist from behind, burying her tear-stained face in the rogue's back. People too, Ying continued on, her voice hollowed. Weiss squeezed her companion that much tighter, weeping. Our parents, She collapsed to her knees, hot tears spilling down her cheeks. The ground was muddy and red, sticky with the blood of the fallen. Stained with the blood of their parents, RWBY continued to wail next to their parents' bodies, screaming at them to wake up. Unfortunately for the both of them, RWBY's pleas fell on deaf ears. The daggers sticking out of their parents' backs made sure of that. The daggers were as black as onyx, half as wide as her forearm. While that in itself was impressive, their most distinguishing feature was the design of flames embossed on the dagger hilt. It would be an image she would never forget for the rest of her life. Stop. Please stop, Weiss begged, clutching at Ying as if her very life depended on it. In some ways it did. Or rather, her sanity did. The bar gates of Laura Man. Sneaking past the guards when the refugees rioted after they were refused entry into the city. Taking cover in some filthy back alley, using abandoned wooden crates to escape from the elements. RWBY was getting sick. That first memory had been the start. Once that one finally freed itself from the confines of her unconsciousness, the rest quickly followed, rampaging through her mind like an avalanche. Despite them all being Ying's memories, Weiss remembered every single one of them in perfect detail, as if they were her very own. From the greedy old healers who turned them away because they had no lien, to the bruises and scratches she hid from her sister after she was caught stealing food. From the countless sleepless nights she experienced, wondering if they'd ever survive long enough to see the next day, to RWBY. Weiss choked on the sob, railing feeling her companion shift in her arms. To RWBY not waking up. She relived them all. She snapped awake to the sound of booming thunder, with her heart pounding away in her chest. Her gaze quickly scanned the immediate area. Sleep blinked away almost instantly, After realizing it was only the storm which had been threatening to soak them for days, she lay down on her side again, at the mouth of the crate they were using for cover. Using her slightly larger frame to protect her younger sister from the wind and the chill these nights were known for. Almost 3 weeks had passed since they snuck into the city of Laura, Maine. As beautiful as the city was, with its pristine chapels and white marbled buildings, the residents here were cold and ruthless. No one batted an eye at them as they struggled to eat on a weekly basis. No one cared they only had the clothes on their backs to protect them for the nearly frigid nights. Between the two of them, she fared only slightly better than Ruby. With her semblance having surfaced just weeks after her 6th birthday, she really didn't feel the cold too much anymore. While she was still untrained and using it to the fullest, as any child would be at her age, her semblance always insulated her from the cooler temperatures, making her almost impervious to most levels of cold. Sadly, Ruby wasn't gifted like her sister, and quickly succumbed to illness by the end of their first week. Since then, she'd only gotten worse. Taking a few more seconds to verify there was no dangers lurking about, at least one she could see, that is. She made herself comfortable again, as comfortable as she could get in a cracked, empty wooden crate, and closed her eyes. All of 2 seconds passed by before her eyelids split open again, her gaze immediately narrowing in on the small one next to her. Ruby was terrified of thunder. No matter what time of night it was, no matter how soft it was, no matter how far in the distance it was, the moment Ruby heard it, she would launch herself into her big sister's bed, wailing. But as it was right now, Ruby laid eerily still next to her. She swallowed thickly. Ruru? Seconds ticked by, but Ruby remained silent. Ruru? She said, louder this time. She reached for her sister's shoulders. She reached for her sister's shoulder, giving it a small shake. Nothing. No groaning. No whining. No coughing. Just absolute silence. Ruby? She shouted, her voice shaking. She frantically shook the smaller girl next to her. All that answered her was the crashing of thunder and the howling winds. Ruby! Shh! Came a soft voice next to her ear. A calloused yet gentle hand ran through her hair. I'm sorry, Yang said, her voice tinged with sadness. I didn't mean to burden you with this. Don't cry. Ice opened her mouth to say something, pulling back to look at Yang in the face, but only managed to weep more. While the pain Yang felt was nothing that Weiss had ever experienced before. Firsthand, at least. The former princess couldn't help but feel as if it had happened to her personally. It's okay, Ning said, continuing to stroke her hair. The hand knot in her hair was wrapped around the back of her shoulders, embracing her tightly. It's all right. Weiss clutched at Yang's shirt. Oh my god, am I clipping the fucking microphone? It just sounds like I'm fucking it up, sorry. I've been hearing it, it's really bothering me. Okay, hopefully that helped. That makes it a little better. It might be just because of that. I don't know. Weiss clutched at Yang's shirt, her knuckles going white. The tears would not stop, nor were the heaving breaths she took every time she gasped for air. Shh, the rogue repeated, rubbing her back. It's all right. You're okay. It hurt. It hurt so much. And Weiss wanted nothing more than to make all that pain go away. All that was in the past, Yang said quietly. You're all right. You're safe. But she didn't know how. So Weiss did the only thing she could. She cried for the both of them. A kiss was pressed into her hair, the gesture making Weiss sob harder. The grip around her shoulders tightened a bit. Yang's physical tears may have dried up a long time ago. The emotional ones hadn't. Not yet. Weiss could hear them in the hollowness of the blonde's voice. She could see them in the way the rogue slumped out ever so slightly as she recounted her darkest memories. She saw them in the lavender eyes, which looked so melancholy as they stared at her. And to her, that was so wrong. She may have known Yang for days, weeks even, but it didn't even feel like that. It felt like she had known the rogue all of her life, and Weiss Weiss wouldn't have wanted it any other way. Well, 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 a voice said behind them. This is a surprise. Yang immediately tensed against her, Weiss yelping in surprise when the blonde became a blur of motion. She quickly found herself hidden protectively behind Yang's body. The rogue's forearms were armored in her weapon. All of that happened in a mere 3 seconds. Oh, the voice said again, a distinctly female voice. Someone's got a fire to them, don't they? Who are you? Yang growled, Weiss flinching at the rogue's dangerous undertone. Despite sensing the immense danger this person posed to them, one which Weiss had no explanation for, Weiss couldn't but dare peek around Yang's muscle-topped figure to get a look at their guest. The person's voice was familiar to her for some reason. Very chillingly so. And she had to know why. Blue eyes widened into saucers when her gaze finally landed on the other with them. Lady Cinderfall? Weiss murmured. Oh man, holy shit. Oh my god, I got really feelsy. I'm sorry, guys. Okay, you know what? I want to ask you guys this. Do you guys want me to go on? For those of you that are in chat right now, do you guys want me to keep going? I would not mind doing a 4th chapter for this. Though that means I would have to change the thumbnail and everything, and I have to change the title too. And part of the description. Oh my god. Ooh-wee. Oh. It gets real intense. Also, I'll make sure not to, actually, I'll do this real fast. Okay, there. Okay. I don't know if I should really go on. Maybe I should save this for another time. Oh, that's my cat. She's in the litter box right now. You can see it right there. You could kind of see her a little bit. Luna. Oh my god. Okay, well, you know what? I think I will save this for another time. Mainly because the hunger just kind of like kicked back in. No one heard it, but I heard my stomach growl just now, and it's not looking to be nice right now. Anyway, so thank you guys so much for watching, or listening. I mean, I don't know how you guys view this. I don't know if you guys watch my expressions or you just alt tab. You just minimize the browser or something and just do something else while this is going on. I hope that there isn't anything happening next week, because then I could do a session. But if something does happen, the thing about the SGDQ thing, like realizing that, you know, that was going to happen the past week, last week, I mean, I did not realize that was going to happen, so I had to stop. The problem is that not many people really follow me on Twitter or on Instagram, honestly, or just anywhere that I can, you know, tell people that, hey, we're not going to do a narration this week. But if you guys want to get any updates about narrations and stuff, just in case I'm not up for a week or anything like that, just go and follow me on Twitter. The link's in the description and everything. I know, so sorry for the plug-in and everything. But it genuinely does make me feel better to at least be able to let people know what is going on. I actually kind of felt a little worried about how this week was going to go, just because I did not say anything about the past week. So make sure you go and do that. I highly recommend that you do so, just so that you're just up to date on whatever is going on in my life, and so in case you know why I'm not doing any narrations for like a day or for like a week or two, that sort of thing. Reflecting on these past chapters, it would be kind of weird to think about how it would. No, I'm not weird. I feel like this would be a lot more. How to say it? This would be a lot more fleshed out if I did have, people like doing like the voices of Yang, Wise, like Little Ruby, Little Yang, and stuff like that. But holy shit, that would take a lot of fucking effort, and I would have to find a lot of people that would be willing to voice. Not only that, it's the case of like I'm not gonna be able to pay, so it's literally like if you're gonna do it, you have to do it for free. Your credit will be given, but I'm not gonna be able to pay. So that's kind of why I'm a little on the fence about doing that. And same thing goes with having an editor. But despite that, I feel like that would have been a really good like place to have, people voicing the characters. That would have really like that would have slapped you straight in the face with emotion. For now though, I'm going to go get me something to eat because I'm hungry. I hope you guys have an awesome day, night, morning, whichever time it is for you right now. And I hope you guys have an awesome weekend too. Stay classy. We'll be back next week. Hopefully. We'll be back next week, hopefully. All right. Later, guys.